You are now listening to Creator Corner.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Creator Corner. I am very excited about our latest guest today. Very excited to welcome Emily to our NFT conversation today. Emily is an NFT researcher in the space, in the Web3 community. She is currently co-founder of an NFT project called True Star, and I'm very excited for us to be a part of our conversation today, dive a bit deeper into True Stars, and get very real with Emily around her experience diving into NFTs and getting started in that space. Well, welcome, Emily. We are so excited to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both for having me. It's nice to meet you.
So as we mentioned, Emily, you referred to yourself as an NFT researcher. But prior to getting involved in the NFT space, you had a lot of experience with being a different type of artist. Can you tell us a little bit about that? You know, what was your experience prior to getting started in the NFT space?
Sure. So my background is actually in traditional fine art, and I did an MFA in painting in art school in New York City. And I also have a bachelor's degree in art history. So I was doing that before I got into the NFT space. And, I also worked in an art gallery in New York City and have some experience in the art world there. And I just reached a point, I guess, where I just felt like it was difficult to like break into the fine art world as a painter. And I kind of lost interest after a while. So that's when I got into NFTs. And actually, like right before I got into NFTs, my experience there was like through crypto. So I started investing, just kind of playing around, and threw in a couple $100 here, a couple hundred there. And this was right around when the pandemic started. And so I was just putting some in there, thinking of it as like savings. And over the next 6 months or so, the market, as you'll probably know, went up really quickly and dramatically, as crypto often it does. So, sorry, my dog's gonna bark. So I familiarized myself with the crypto market, and also sorry, I might need to pause for a second just to make sure my dog doesn't, like, she can, whenever you want to. Okay. So yeah, I started familiarizing myself with the crypto market, and I got into like educating myself through YouTube and a lot of other outlets. And there's so many people on YouTube that are just sharing advice and things that they've done. So that's how I sort of got into it. And then I got into NFT Twitter, started buying some different projects that I liked. Some of them were really successful. Others were like, not so successful. So I learned a lot just doing that. And then I started connecting with others in the space and decided to launch my own project, which is True Stars.
Yeah, Emily, thank you so much for walking us through what that experience was like transitioning from crypto to NFTs to actually, investing in some NFT projects. That's super helpful to understand. And I'm curious, Emily, in terms of the NFT space and crypto, you hear a lot of the times that there's a lot of men in the space. How did you ensure, I guess, that you connected with communities that were welcoming and, we're really, I guess, just to backtrack here, I'll reframe my question. But I'm curious if you experienced like any challenges joining and finding NFT spaces where, there was like-minded folks in terms of, moving away just from males in the space. How did you break in as, a woman in getting involved in the NFT community?
Yeah, sure. So I realized from, outside perception and, the reality is that the NFT and the crypto markets are pretty male dominated. But I would also say that the majority of people in the space are very progressive and welcoming. And there are times where I feel like it can feel like a boys' club, especially in certain communities. But like I said, I think there's a lot more diversity than there appears to be. And there are some really great projects that are working on just making the space more friendly and open to women and BIPOC people and people of different sexual orientations and identities. So one of the projects that I got into earlier on, and I'm still involved in as a holder, is the Dead Fellas. I don't know if you've heard of Dead Fellas, but I really loved that project from the start. First off, because the I guess you would call her like the founder, I guess, is a woman. So it's woman led, and the artist is her husband. And I also really loved the thought that they put into designing the traits for the avatars. It's really it's simple, but if you look at how they've done everything, they've made it so that any of the traits could be potentially masculine or feminine. There's longer haired characters with a mustache, and so it's I feel like it's little things like that it signals to people that there is an intention there. So yeah, sorry, I need to pause for a second.
Yep, all good.
Yeah, sometimes we're just talking and just get out of breath. So,
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So does that answer your question? Did you have any more thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your experience, because I think that a lot of folks that listen to our YouTube series, Creator Corner, they may have these misconceptions about the NFT community, but it sounds like if you're very intentional about the projects that you join, do that research around, it sounds like with Dead Fellows, you had this exposure in understanding that it was women-led, and it was very intentional in terms of characteristics and making sure that they were non-binary, all these aspects. It sounds like if you're very intentional about looking for these projects, they're out there, they exist. It's only a matter of making sure that we're taking that extra time to do our due diligence and be intentional about those projects we're investing in. So I appreciate that. That's really great background. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's important to support these creators who are trying to represent people and diversity in the space. So
Absolutely. And I think one recurring theme in the NFT space is the value of community. And that can mean so many different things in terms of the community you're building for your project or the community you're joining for a project. So in terms of our next question, can you just walk us through a little bit about your journey of building an NFT community, what that looked like for you and True Stars?
Yeah, of course. So I would say building up community is really one of the most challenging things for any creator in the space. But in a lot of ways, I felt like it's more accessible to do that in NFTs than in the real art world. So I had already become quite visible just from posting a lot of my insight on NFTs and the things I was researching and finding and sharing with people. And I had created a decent following, and that was really helpful. So like I think any kind of creator in this space, putting yourself out there and really like sharing what you are learning or what you're working on, anything that is valuable to people and creates content that people can learn from. I think that's always really appreciated. And also like helping others, because when you help others, I've found a lot of them tend to feel generous back to you. So I would say that's really important for building community, is like, just creating these kind of relationships with people. But it doesn't happen overnight, right? Like it still takes time. It took me I started posting on LinkedIn and sharing just a lot of my insight on there. And it took me about a year to get around 10,000 followers. So, and then I have like somewhat less than that on Twitter. And Twitter is like another it's just a different audience there.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Yeah, so you have to like adjust. And the other thing is, so I think like making yourself visible is really helpful, like I said, and creating that kind of content. But it can also be like, like getting people interested in your project and to get them into your Discord. That's another step for people. And in the market right now, it's getting much better, but we're still in a bear market. So people aren't as inclined to buy. So that's an added challenge, and we're working through it, and we're trying to just make the project as fun and also like to give value back to people who support us through the NFTs. That's really one of our big goals. So it's been good for us to take this time to really like have this like building stage, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we appreciate you sharing a little bit more about your experience building community. We heard various, things from your response there. One, around consistency and making sure to add value to the space, whether it's on, LinkedIn and growing a following there with consistency and content, or, you leveraging other digital tools to connect with a different audience, such as NFT Twitter. So thank you so much for sharing some of those initial challenges there in terms of making sure that you're being consistent, that you're providing value to your audience there. But would love to shift the conversation a bit to talk about True Stars. We're, as we mentioned, really excited to learn a little bit more about the project. But just to give our viewers a quick high level, True Stars is a Web3 brand. It's a project that inspires folks to be their true selves with quality NFTs and really bringing together the intersection of fine jewelry and storytelling. So Emily, I would love to understand, why jewelry and NFTs together? Why is that the sweet spot?
I love how you said all that. It was really great. So the jewelry came in because my co-founder is a jewelry designer. Her name is Noreen Mirza, and she's a Muslim, British Muslim designer based in London. And she was really, really keen on getting into NFTs, and we connected earlier this year. And I also, like, in addition to art, I'm really into jewelry as well, and like stones. And I thought it was kind of like a fun challenge at the time to see how we could like maybe incorporate the jewelry as utility or to add value. So it's been a fun process, but it is challenging because as you probably have seen, like, you know, the SEC is coming in now and like cracking down on a lot more projects. So that's something we have to be cautious of. And, you know, like if we are to like give diamonds away, for example, or like mint them as NFTs, that you can claim an actual physical diamond, you know, there could be a challenge there with securities. So we just need to make sure that all of that is like squared away properly. And we're working on that. But it hasn't really been done before. So it's kind of like a challenge. But I think it's exciting. And if we can do it and make it successful, you know, it's going to, I think, be kind of like a groundbreaking thing. So that's how we kind of came around to the jewelry. And what else? Sorry, what else was your question?
Yeah, you've answered my question there around, you know, why was jewelry and NFTs that sweet spot?
Yeah. Oh, well, you made me just think about something else I wanted to say. I think one of the biggest barriers to like newer people coming into the space is like they have a hard time getting over the non-physical aspect of NFTs. You know, there's all these like right click save jokes going around, and I think it's gonna take time for people to really like to get through that in their minds. But I think having a physical component or something that ties you in a real world way to an NFT, I think that's gonna help to onboard more people or get them excited in a new way. So these are all the things that we've been talking about, and so I guess that would be like the phygital aspect. I'm not sure if you're familiar with like phygital goods, but
yeah, I just actually heard it from TrueStar. So, I mean, we'd love to hear a little bit more about, you know, this phygital aspect, because I do think it is very unique in the NFT space. And you do have a good point about people needing the time to transition to just a completely, you know, digital artistry. So we'd love to hear a little bit about, you know, the creation behind this, the phygital aspect of TrueStar.
Sure. So we wanted to create this Web3 brand that would offer phygital goods. And so the idea on our roadmap is you'll be able to mint a piece of jewelry as an NFT and then claim the actual physical piece. And the TrueStar, like if you own the avatar, that gets you into the ecosystem. And also we want to give it like a members pricing, like special members pricing for holders, and also like discounts on things. So that's one of the ideas that we have on the roadmap. But yeah, I think sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, and about like the phygital aspect of it.
Yeah, so people will be able to mint an NFT of the jewelry, claim the physical, and then the NFT will actually also serve as like a certificate of authenticity. So it will tell you what stones are in there, what materials were sourced and where they're from. So it's kind of in a way like revolutionary for the jewelry industry because you can get certificates of authenticity, but at this point not really on the blockchain. There are other luxury jewelry companies that are working on this. So I think others are entering the space, and obviously like they're going to have a lot more at their disposal to do this. We're just a small like brand, and we really wanted to like be Web3 focused and not like an outside Web2 brand coming in. So I think that's kind of what sets us apart, hopefully. And I hope that people in the NFT space will appreciate that. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to hear about how you're taking the aspect of NFTs to the next level with the digital aspect of it. I think a lot of folks, as you mentioned, you do have a hard time with the digital piece of it. And so really connecting it to something physical that they can get that value from, I think it's huge and definitely a differentiator in the space. But to your point there, your roots, your background is in the Web3 community. So you're really approaching, as you mentioned, you're approaching this from a unique perspective of, we're Web3 based and we're building the ground up from the Web3 community and then involving this digital aspect of it as our product roadmap, the future of our project. But I'd love to hear, you mentioned all these great ideas that you have around the product roadmap, and it sounds very exciting in terms of that added utility, that added value for folks that are token holders of TrueStar. So thank you for sharing that. Would love to get a bit more into specifics around the design of specific characters. I think one that really caught Mary and I's eyes is Noreen. We really like Noreen, and we would love to just on a high level hear a little bit about what that design process was with Noreen. It's my understanding that you collaborated with different types of artists to create Noreen, but would love to hear from your perspective, what that collaboration process was on a high level in bringing Noreen to the Web3 world.
Yeah, that's a great question. So like you said, we have a jewelry designer who is Noreen, and then we have the artist whose name is Claire Gary, and she did all of the artwork for the avatars and the other visuals. So we decided we wanted to bring Noreen in as a Metaverse jeweler and actually like create her in her like Metaverse form. And so she does kind of bear a strong resemblance, I think, to the real Noreen.
Oh, wow.
Jewelry designer. Noreen's brand is like very like green, and if you look at pictures of her, she does resemble the avatar. But yeah, we thought it would be kind of fun for people to have that experience of like, if we create like a Metaverse jewelry store and there's a Noreen avatar in there, and you can go in there and interact with her, and then it takes you to our eventual like marketplace where you can actually buy the jewelry. So those are some things we're really trying to do, and they probably it'll come out in our roadmap, along the way. But when we also took a lot of time coming up with the ideas for the traits for all the avatars, and we really wanted it to be very distinguished from all the other NFT brands out there. I think you probably have seen most of them are more flat cartoons. So we wanted to do something that was really like different and would stand out. And we wanted to incorporate the star somehow. And the reason we came up with the name True Stars is because Noreen, as a jewelry designer, her name actually means ray of light. And so she's very drawn to the star as sort of like her trademark. And we were like, how do we incorporate that in a fun way? So we went through a lot of different like design concepts, and we just like weren't feeling them. And then towards the end, we were talking to Claire, the artist, and we were like, just do something that's very like true to you. Like what kind of art do you really enjoy creating or designing? And then she came back to us with these the more like 3D rendered avatars. And they were just like really fun. And then the decision to put the star in the middle of the forehead was because we were like, they have to be like immediately identified as like stars somehow. There was already like star catchers, which is another NFT, and they had like a star head, and so we didn't want to do something too close to that. But we decided to put the star in the middle of the forehead because the third eye is sort of like what unlocks it's like your creativity, your higher knowledge, and then like going within. And these were all things that we wanted people to get from the artwork. So long story short, that's kind of how we arrived at that.
Yeah, it sounds like there was a lot of intention behind, creating each avatar to make sure that not only are you guys connecting with the audience you guys want to serve, but also connecting with your true selves as founders, as artists, as jewelers. So I think it's really unique. And right when you said, like the star in the middle of the forehead, like the third eye was the first thing I thought about as well. So that's really awesome that, the vision that you all had in terms of putting the star in the forehead is, being translated as you all intended to be. And I guess that brings us to our next question. So it sounds like, there's a lot of just intentional partnerships and collaborations that really had to happen in order to make True Stars, to where they're at now. So can you just tell us a little bit about like how you found like-minded collaborators and partners to really bring True Stars into fruition?
Sure. So I as I was talking about earlier, I was creating a lot of content on LinkedIn earlier this year, and that's when a lot of people started approaching me and I started connecting, and that's when I met Noreen. And so there's a lot of ways to meet people in the space. You can meet people on Twitter, but you don't always know like who they are. It can be a little bit more challenging. So it's just something you have to like think about when you're collaborating with people, like what's their credibility, so we found a lot of collaboration through LinkedIn, and there's a lot of other Web3 creators and professionals that are moving on to LinkedIn now. So I think it's a really good place to connect with people for that reason. And collaborating with others in the space, like it takes time. So, but like I said, if you just put yourself out there, you will eventually, attract the right people, I think. And, we've gone through we had our initial like team members, and they've all been on since the beginning, but we've still been talking to others to see if there's any possibility for collaboration. And some things I think have worked, and then others it just hasn't worked at this point yet. So but you just never know. You just I would say just like keep the channel open, keep like meeting with people, and you just never know what could come about. So yeah,
that's great advice, around, putting yourself out there, being open to new connections, networking, connecting with folks, and attracting those like-minded people to hopefully, collaborate on creative pursuits. So thank you for sharing that advice for other creators that may potentially be listening to us today. But I also, we talked a little bit about TrueStars and what that future utility for token holders may look like. I guess I'm curious, what's the vision for TrueStars in the future? Can you tell us a little bit more about that product roadmap?
Yeah, so the roadmap is like it's the trickiest, other than like building the community, because you want to have things on there that are exciting to people and incentivize them, but you also don't want to be like too strict and put things on there that you may or may not be able to roll out. And also with the market conditions, there's so many things and factors that can change in a really quick amount of time. So I think we're constantly like workshopping that, and we haven't really like rolled out our roadmap like we are planning to yet. I have a bunch of ideas, and I want to put them in a like sort of like fun, interactive, like visual. I don't know if you've seen other projects roadmaps, but usually there's like something like on there, or like a handful of things on there, like the Bored Ape Yacht Club. They have a really great example of a roadmap, because there's indicators of like what might happen, but nothing is like, it's vague and it gets people guessing. So there's no like right or wrong way to do that. I think it's just a matter of like getting people excited. But yeah, like I said, you gotta, I think the best thing is to keep things flexible, because you just never know what might change. So I'm excited to like finally share our roadmap, hopefully in the next couple weeks, and then also like our minting strategy that we've been working on. But yeah, I think keep things simple, and it depends, like, if you're like a newer creator in the space, you might want to start out really small, just mint a couple of pieces, see how that works out. I don't recommend anyone to take on like a really big generative NFT project when you're like new to the space. There's so much that you have to do. But I would say like just start small and do what you know that you can deliver.
Definitely. And it sounds like, that process of the roadmap creation is a continuous process, iterative. It's going to evolve over time. But it sounds like a key theme is just to be flexible and allow it to happen as it comes. So definitely thank you for sharing just a little bit about the future of TrueStars. And we're excited to hear more about your minting strategy and your just the roadmap you have in the upcoming weeks.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited too.
Definitely. And I guess just to quickly wrap up, we just have 2 rapid fire questions for you, Emily. At first being like, since you've had, like a little bit over like about 3 years of experience on the NFT space as a researcher as well, and as as also experience in creating your own project, what advice would you have for maybe new creators or young creators who are trying to get into the NFT space? Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say what I have really been thinking about lately is like, what's my why? And I think that's really the most important thing. If you can really come to that, like what that is, you're gonna have a lot more success. You know, other than that, I think just get involved and meet people, see what others are doing out there. And like I said, it's not like an overnight thing, but you'll be really surprised, like the sooner you start, like how things can really snowball in this space, especially at this time. So yeah, I would say start small, and also like think about why you're creating what you're creating, and what motivates you, and how that is the NFT space going to assist you in that. You can really innovate, like you have an opportunity to really innovate in the space. So that's what I would suggest people do.
Definitely. Thank you for that, Emily. And then our last question is, like, how can our viewers support your work? Like, where can we find you, either on social media or LinkedIn or any other mediums that you use to promote your work?
Yeah, so I think probably the best way to find True Stars is the website, and it's truestars-nft.com. And then from there, all of our social media links are there. You can join our Discord. You can follow us on Twitter, which is also True Stars NFT. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Emily Carrig, and you'll notice me by like my True Stars profile picture. And other than that, like I'm also on Twitter too. If you find, you'll see all the social links if you go to our website. But yeah, I would love to have people in our community. So if you like what we're doing, join the Discord, follow us. We haven't released our minting date yet, but hoping to as soon as we can. So yeah.
Yes, that is super exciting. Sounds like a lot of exciting stuff is happening for the team at True Stars in the next couple of weeks and months. So we'll definitely, be sure to stay close, stay updated on that progress. I know Mary and I were really excited to speak to you today. And so we're really thankful that you took the time to have this conversation with us. But thank you so much, Emily, for joining us. Thank you for sharing your experience in the NFT space and, sharing that value back with our viewers as well.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a really wonderful time. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. Looking forward to seeing the minting project.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in. Creator Corner is a podcast production presented by the Ars Network. It is hosted by Dalia Zaragoza and Mary Figueroa. This podcast is edited and produced by Muhammad Abdullah Kawish.